Well, thanks and welcome to join me on the program. I'm Kejang Atembeh in Douala. The practical phase of the General Certificate of Education, the GC Ordinary Advanced and Technical Examinations begin next Monday, at least to go by official calendar of the General Certificate of Education Board. And as the government takes necessary measures to contain the seismic effects of any invisible hand that might jeopardize the examinations, Newsroom will now have to move through the contours of the GC and questions the possibility of running these examinations and to find out if candidates that were supposed to have registered for the examinations would probably sit in. But registered or not registered, studied or not studied, certificates would be delivered, at least to go by government announcement. The GC question has, alongside an avalanche of other issues rocking the country, has pushed some political parties to announce a boycott of May 20th celebrations. And as they put it, there is nothing to celebrate when Cameroon is in very serious problem with peace. Thanks and welcome to join me on the program. Well, we'll begin with swift presentation of our panelists for today's edition of the program. Welcome, Kilian Nyuysever.
Yeah, thank you, Kejang, for inviting me today.
Kilian is a management consultant and very much involved with civil society activities. Kilian, the economic partnership agreement is already close to 1 year old today since the country signed this agreement, which is in its partial form. But then what we are noticing is that the country actually seems to be losing something like 500 or almost $500 million francs from customs revenue, which is supposed to be the broad base in revenue collection. Any comment on that?
Well, I think that the 1 year anniversary of the partnership, we can do what you call the balance sheet. But anyhow, we can't take all the time here to do the balance sheet. Just a brief comment. You can know that before this came into, when it was signed, we had a lot of comments on the panels here whereby, like other economic transactions in the global world, when we are not internally prepared and we don't have the protectionist aspect of the Cameroon economy, you find out that when you sign those agreements, expatriates and foreigners are going to come and gain more, benefit more than Cameroonians. The issue is we are not always ready in terms of competitiveness. And you find out that that agreement exonerated some goods and so on, putting in problem of importing foreign goods in Cameroon without protecting our own national production. You remember there is one adage we used to call that we should consume Cameroon. I don't know where that slogan has gone to. If you have to consume Cameroon, it means that, and where the head of state the last 3 years have been announcing industrialization of Cameroon, you imagine that if we were to produce our own local goods, that this kind of partnership will come and will put the problem of fairness and competitiveness of those products.
Well, though there are a list of some goods that need to be imported into the country.
Of course. You know what the theory of comparative cost in economics says that naturally all the countries are not endowed with all the natural resources. Same like in terms of talent. You will find that there are some goods in some sectors like the pharmaceutical sectors and some technical sectors like the machineries that we need to use for our agriculture. We cannot produce it at a short notice, but in the long run, in an economic blueprint, we need to understand that we need to develop expertise in those areas where we can start producing. And we need economic sovereignty, which will lead to political sovereignty, even though we continue to have this kind of conversion and partnership where we are not always the winners.
Well, thanks very much, Kilian Nyuysever, still with me on the program. Let me introduce another wise man, or a wise man this time from the Limbe. He's Solomon Tembang. He is editor with the Elie newspaper. Solomon, welcome and thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Kejang, for inviting me.
Well, Solomon, coming back fresh. Kilian was just talking about the economic partnership agreement, which is a competitive one. I understand you amongst the cream of economic journalists converged on Kribi for a seminar to better inform the people. Now, very briefly, how was it?
I think the workshop in Kribi was necessary and it went well. And you know, initially when Cameroon signed the economic partnership agreement with the European Union, there were some misgivings. Even me, as a journalist, I had some mixed feelings about the partnership. And we initially thought the Cameroon was open the floodgates of its borders for companies in Europe to flood our markets. But you find out that there are some that it's not every good that is involved in the partnership agreement. Yep. There are some goods that we produce which will not be allowed to benefit from the agreement. For example, raw materials that we produce, for example, rice and the rest are not included in the agreement. But if you import rice, yeah, the tariff reduction will not apply to those products. Yeah. The products products like drugs, lorries, cars that we don't produce, and also second-hand goods are not involved in this agreement because there are three categories involved in the partnership agreement. You have the first category that has a reduction of 30% of the tariff, the custom, the ECT. 30% for the first category, 20 or 25% for the second category, and 10% for the third category. And as Kilian was saying, in terms of competitiveness, our companies are not ready for such huge economic competition. But you also understand that part of the economic partnership agreement involves upgrading. The agreement also involves upgrading our companies and our enterprises to be able to meet up with the standards internationally. And that's why they targeted 200 companies initially for upgrading, but later on it was increased to 600. And so the upgrading process is still ongoing. And I think Cameroonians will have to benefit a lot from this agreement. So it is something we need to move with the times, to encourage and move with the time and give it a try and see how it goes.
Well, thanks very much, Solomon Tembang. He's with the Elie newspaper. Another wise man, another Solomon, this time is Solomon Agborem. Agborem is a journalist of the Star newspaper in Limbe. He's a member of the pool of journalists for United Nations Center for Democracy. He is the editor-in-chief of the Batuko Info. He is the chairman of the management committee, Batuko Health Center. That's wonderful. He is the committee chairperson of Batuko Chieftaincy. He's a kingmaker. He is a member of the Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force of the Southwest region. Wonderful. Well, Solomon Agborem, thanks and welcome to join me on the program.
It's a pleasure to be on Newsroom, and we hope that our contribution here will enhance the understanding of Cameroonians when we talk about key issues which are on the table that has to do with the economy, that has to do with education, and of course that has to do with development. So it's a pleasure for you to have invited me to be a guest.
Well, Solomon Agborem, you were part of the those who were in Kribi for this very seminar. Let me just come back to you. Everybody, almost all the journalists got it wrong when they talked about the economic partnership agreement. So it was necessary for the European Union sponsored seminar alongside the Minister of the Economic Planning and Regional Development to bring you together so that you better understand, so that you can better inform the public. Now, this question, there is still the problem because it was a long way from 1960 to 2017 and 16. But there is still this problem, there is still fear. What is there that Cameroonians are still afraid of?
Well, you've got to be afraid of anything that you don't understand. So I'm of the opinion that what we gathered in Kribi, in line with the sensitization workshop of the economic partnership agreement between Cameroon and the European Union, and there are a few things that Cameroonians should know. The good news is that we are 10 months into the economic partnership agreement since August 4, 2016, when the head of state signed a presidential decree we ratified in 2014 anyway. But what Cameroonians should know as at now is that between the 4th of August 2016 to April 2017, we've lost about 518 million CFA francs in terms of our revenue.
But people say that is not even it's not an issue.
It's not an issue, but Cameroonians should know that this is what has happened in terms of the revenue that we used to collect as far as the custom activities is concerned. It's all about giving Cameroonians the right information and the situation that it is. Now, the advantage for us as a country is that our local enterprises know as from now that they have a mandate to grow, like we gathered in the workshop, because there's national upgrading program, which I don't think companies with turnover of about 50 million do understand that it exists. So this is an opportunity within the convention of the Economic Partnership Agreement that they have to tap from, they have to benefit from. And how do we get that? We understand that there's a regional bureau in Douala, but we are thinking that the partnership should be able to make provisions that it goes to the region, so that those who are in the southwest, those who are in the northwest, those who are in the east, those who are in the center, those who are in the west, can also get easy access information to how do we upgrade our companies, what is at stake. So that's the information, and one good advantage that our local enterprises should know, that if you have turnover of more than 50 million, you can benefit from that upgrading of your company. And of course, we also looking at the issue that before now, most countries of the CEMAC zone castigated Cameroon to have sold out to the European Union. But come to think of it, we have competitive advantages all over those countries. Look at Central African Republic, it's landlocked. What do they offer? Look at Equatorial Guinea, look at Gabon, look at Congo, look at Chad. We are exporting rubber, cocoa, you talk of banana and timber. The agreement has got to do with a free zone that has to do with the exchange of goods and services. And within the first category, we're talking about lorries and trucks, we're talking about machineries, we're talking about drugs. And when we look at the platform of Cameroon, our policy, Vision 2035, all of this fall into it. And we stand the best at the top position to benefit from all of this to help us move there. So I think that it's a good move from our Cameroonian authorities to have engaged. But if you ask my candid opinion, I want to think, like I asked the experts in the meeting, that was it the right time for us to engage into this? We would have built our economy, would have given muscle to our local enterprises so that as it kicks off, we are able to match up with them. You know, it is interim. 15 years interim. But when I look at the statistics in terms of the Economic Partnership Agreement between 1975 to 1990 and over to 2000, the partnership was signed within the space of 2 and 5 years. Why the interim? Why has it moved from that to about 15 years as an interim period? So we need to look at all of these and understand the issues at stake. But if we must go back with something, is the fact that this is an opportunity given to our Cameroonian market and to challenge the local enterprises to improve on their product. And the fear has been, if I have to come back to your question, that yes, the issue of goods flooding our market. Within this convention, there's also quality norms and quality control, which means it's not everything that will leave Europe that will enter our country. We'll block them at the port and say, this is not the norms and quality. We may have over 200 rules and regulations in terms of our norm, but Europe has over 2,000. So we are still at the point of working more so that we check some of those goods, so that what comes into Cameroon is what the Cameroonian man can benefit from and enjoy this economic partnership agreement. So we are watching it. No, don't forget that the second category is coming up on the 4th of August 2017, and the Cameroonian public should keep an eye on it. And us, the economic reporters, should also follow closely and inform Cameroonians appropriately.
Thanks very much, Solomon Agborem. But let's start this salvo with this video clip. When we come back, we'll probably comment on that.
Je ne vais pas rester ici avec vous. Donc on peut dire qu'il a un contact avec les gens, on attend ce matin. peut-être que je ne vais pas rester là pour tourner avec vous. Ils m'attendent là-bas pour me consommer. C'est là où ils vont donner tout. Ils vont donner. Je n'ai pas envie de rester. Je n'ai même pas un franc pour me donner. Si j'avais des trucs comme argent, je vais vous donner.
Well, very disturbing images there, Solomon Tembang. That is the good job of the gendarme officer collecting money. That is outright corruption.
Yes,
and it happened in Douala, somewhere around Bunaberi.
Yes, I think this video was circulated on the social media, and we just learned that the Secretary of State for National Gendarmerie has punished the culprits and transferred them to the far north. I think this is a case of putting social media into good use. Many people have been criticizing the use of social media to preach hate speech and propagate violence and all whatnot, to the extent where the internet was shut down in the northwest and southwest region. But I think using the social media for such causes is laudable. I think we should praise the person who did such an action, and other areas we should involve, take this to other domains, not only the police. There's corruption everywhere, even within classroom, within the taxation department, within the justice department, and we should also.
And just to say, that is a proof. Is it tangible proof enough?
Yes, it is evident. Everybody is seeing it. He cannot say it's a video that was photoshopped or whatnot. He sees himself doing the action. You don't need any other proof other than the live images.
Kilian, the punishment probably seemed lighter because we got the transfer letter sending these two gendarmes officers to the, I think, far north region of the country. But some people think that is not enough.
Yeah, that's not enough. Before I come to comment on how the weight of the sanction, I would like to say that this is proof that corruption is still deeply rooted in our society and in all sectors. And then I'm asking myself, we had ANEF, Agence Nationale d'Investigation Financière, CONAC, Commission Nationale Anti-Corruption. What are they doing? What is their job description, mission, business as usual? And then you look at this is an external something that comes. This video does not come from the system. What are in the company you put internal procedures to control? What are internal controls? But
will you be putting internal procedure to control a gendarme or a police officer on the road?
That's what I mean. I mean that if the institutions in place, the government institutions, don't have their internal mechanism to control this, then it's only through an Iceman who can get 1 or 2 cases. Meanwhile, you saw in Bonaberi, one day in Cameroon, you can get 50 videos of such that cannot be snapped at the same time for you to tell you how deeply it is. We know when we go on our ways, we see when it's not a routier, it's going to be a policeman. And then, I mean, specialized forces along the route, they do this. So for me, it's actually important to communicate and to say, okay, fine, now the way I want to find myself in that comment of what internal mechanism does the department that controls these people have to identify this problem without external control. Because this video came from an individual in the social network. So before he sanctioned, if this video did not come, could we have had access to this internally? Can he know that he has given a job description to somebody to be doing this and he's doing the other things and he can sanction without this video? So these sanctions come because of this an external something. And this sanction comes because of the social media. You remember here we said, as he has commented, my able panelists from the other side, that the shutting of internet in the Northwest was an important partnership tool to the government. I mean, to get information of people to select those who were doing violence and those who were not doing violence. They shut internet the whole of Northwest as if everybody was a criminal there. Of course, they were criminal in the Northwest, which the social network like this would have helped the government to identify them so that you don't have human rights abuses. So, in fact, communication is a partnership in America, you know, it's the fourth institution after the three traditional institutions, So for me, I think that we are looking at it at the
but it was transferred to the far north. Or
no, the punishment is lighter. It's simply that transfer give the lecture I have from that transfer is that they are saying that they remove you from where there is money and put you where there is no money. And you will remember that there are people who pay to come and work in Douala because they know the money. The sanction would have been suspension without salary for some time, so that you feel a kind of pecuniary impact on your pay slip. Not that you transfer him, you have simply say, okay, I put you in Douala to have money. Now that you are exposed, you go away. That's what it simply means. And why should the minister wait for a social media document to come before? I still insist for the fact that they need to have internal mechanism where they can dictate this. I mean, we have secret services. You know, the secret services, they can go around and bring this information without a video and say this was happening. Do you want to believe that they don't know that it's happening in the field? Please, I think we should be very careful. When we do this commentary, I say it's sometimes the government react because this has been published through the media and they say, okay, we don't take any action. What about things that they see they don't do?
Agborem, this particular video reminds me, particularly, probably you too, of the famous Minute by Minute that was run by Akwanka June D4 in the then days.
Exactly, yeah.
That is exactly what they were doing, and today we are seeing it very clearly. Don't forget that it fetched him a very serious quarrels from the ranks of the administration. Now, Agborem, this cannot happen in a country where, for example, like Ghana, because that would be outright dismissal.
Immediately.
Definitely. And it brings to mind how I'm taken aback with the fact that our uniform officers have turned the highways into football fields where all you understand is whistle. And once the whistle is mentioned, the driver knows exactly what to do.
Yeah.
This is not acceptable. And somebody has got to raise a finger about this. And the issue of the social media getting into this, Kilian said it. It could be 100, 200, same act happening at the same time. Likewise, there are criminals everywhere, but just that they don't act at the same time. And I think if our forces of law and order really do understand what they represent when they are on the highway, they will not extort money from drivers. You will book that driver, and the next minute or the next day, the driver is going to court to answer for charges which you have charged him for. But this money gets into private pockets. And what happens? The driver, it comes like a routine payment of what you have to do every morning. Look at the checkpoint in Geme, where I live, in Limbe 2 subdivision. It happens there all the time. They decide who to stop and collect from who they want to. Look at Miss Selele, coming to Douala or leaving the littoral region. We know all of these points. Their commandants, they know all of these points. Their commissioners, they know all of these points. And the boss himself knows it. So we need action to be taken.
Now, let me ask you, let me stay with you, Agborem. The drivers are faulty because they don't have the complete documents, and that is why they have to give the money. The driver corrupts. And if they have to charge the officer, the driver too has to be charged.
The
for
driver
not possessing all the complete documents.
The driver has to be charged because in some of the cases, the driver already knows that I have to give 500, I have to give 1,000.
Overloading.
If the control is a mixed, they know it's gendarme and police, they know that it's 1,500 has to go. So they have created this network and they want to function that way. So it's a matter of we are capturing who gives the money, we are capturing who receives the money, and they have to answer for it. And but the same thing is we should be able to have a clear cut of what you have to pay to run either a taxi or to. We know of the clando that are operating, owned by administrators. They cannot stop it because they cannot control the transport sector as well because they are into the system. So who is fooling who? We all need to work it out. If we need to stop it, we need to stop it. And if we don't want to stop it, then people get involved too, and we cannot accuse.
I don't want to say that you have to look at the problem from different levels. There are rules that are made for transportation. There is something like overloading and so on that you don't need to do. And the work of a police officer is to stop the breakage of the law. So they have turned it to a transaction for law breaking to be paid. And you know the impact is that, of course, you know, if the old car doesn't have to ride and it's riding and if you pay for it, it means it's going to cause an accident. And the impact of that can be enormous accidents.
The issue is not even to send him to the far north, because in the far north there are still vehicles there, there are still people doing clandestine business in the transportation system.
But maybe they will send him in the office. Now Solomon Tembang, no control, because he just sit on he sits comfortably on his bike and starts whistling like Solomon Agborem was saying, like a football referee. Beep, 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 beep. But the fact is, they don't control the vehicles. They don't know whether drugs are passing or cocaine, marijuana. They don't know whether weapons are passing. In as much as you give, you don't know who is passing without an identity card. It becomes dangerous.
It's just as Agborem said, it has become a network. It has become a network.
Which means these very people can infiltrate guns or weapons into the major cities.
Yes, because you see the police officer sitting on his bike and he's not even bothering. He's a gendarme officer. He doesn't even bother who stops. And the vehicles are not stopped. They stop by themselves. The drivers already know that this is the network and this is what you have to give.
You just have to chip it.
You don't have to pay and you go. So they don't even bother who has an ID card, who doesn't have. They don't bother if the vehicle is overloaded, and overloading the vehicle, you are putting people's life at risk. So it is something that has become, and it is business as usual, and the business flourishes, and both parties are benefiting at the detriment of the common man,
well,
the detriment of the travelers.
It's high time for administration to, as they have created. I mean, we've seen government effort to fight against corruption and all that. It's high time that they put any contravention that reveal corruption to be a grievous form, so that the civil servant is immediately sacked. It's completely what they can do. The instrument, the legislative instruments are there. They simply need to inscribe corruption, any person caught with corruption as grievous fault, and you're fired.
And mind you, Kejang, if he's got his godfather in the delegation for defense and whosoever controls the gendarme, he'll be there for about 2 months. Before you know it, we'll send him to Kribi. He'll be operating there. So that's the system. But we need to stop this.
Well, thanks very much, gentlemen, for your brilliant comments. Well, I just hope that he has not benefited from the thrift, what we call Njangi, because if he had benefited, because we hear they are contributing almost 500,000 francs every week.
Yes, they make a lot of money on the highway.
So if he has benefited of the thrift, maybe 20-something million, and sent up north, he has to pay back this money to some of the members.
Yeah, Kejang, we know of cases where a police officer or general officer leaves their house without money and tells his wife that come to the road at 12 o'clock and take money to go to the market. Yeah. So there are some of them are living basically from the money they make on the highway, not even from their salaries.
And so does it call for an increase in salary? Does it call for an increase in salary, whereas they are the ones first at the bank?
That is illegitimate increase of salary. We're talking about taking money on the road and financing house. I mean,
we also want to state that the commissioner or the commandant in charge should also be questioned, because your element cannot be at a particular point without your knowledge, without your authorization. And if he is there, he needs to be sanctioned first of all at that level, the local level. If you say you don't know or you are not aware, so the boss concerned should also question the commander or the commissioner in place, that this person was here at this time. Was he on assignment? Was he on duty? So it's a whole system that needs to be followed, and do not punish him alone. they should look at his boss too.
It is going to be a routine attitude that Cameroonians prepare to break the law because they are prepared to pay. So it becomes an attitude of corruption and morality. Remember RICO and moralization that has been implanted into almost every Cameroonian. You remember the point is that when you want to do the right thing and the institutional support is not there, because when you do the right thing, you end up paying it. You lose everything. You can stand there for the whole day. They will take your car. They will go and put somewhere. There are times they collected my driving license, and I accepted. I said, I don't want corruption. I want to go and collect it and pay what they want. But the man never deposited at the police station for the next 3 days. I had to see a police officer when they called him. I was essential. But you understand, the guy thought that I was still going to come and look for him and pay him money up front.
Well, I think thanks very much. We will probably keep track of that to find out if the checkpoints at Bonaberry, that is at the west entrance of the town.
Whether the person who has replaced that one is doing the same thing. So, you know, because that's the problem.
That's the problem.
Well, thanks. We hope so. We hope that he will not be doing that. Anyway, let us move up and get Annette Efeti Mutumba Esome on whether or not, or rather on the recent visit of the Minister of Secondary Education, Ernest Ngale Bebehe Masina, to the Northwest region on the state of preparedness as he assured the children or candidates that they were going to write the GCE examinations.
Owing to the present social crisis in the Anglophone regions of Cameroon, the Minister of Secondary Education has announced that candidates who did not register for end-of-course examinations but who appear at exam centers and manifest the desire should be allowed to sit for the said exams. Jean-Ernest Masenangale Bibehem made the announcement this May 10th while chairing a meeting of examination stakeholders in Bamenda.
The minister said he had postponed examinations several times, but if some enthusiastic students really come and they could be identified, then we know that we can accommodate them. Then we should write down their names and all, and then their papers should forward it, and at least the board should do something to see how they can help these students who have really at least shown an effort that they can write. If we identify them that they were potential candidates that could really sit and write, we should give them a chance. But we are still doubting the possibilities. But since our instructions coming from hierarchy, I just believe that the examination board and the other people who are to help us run the exams, they can see how they will make it very possible that it becomes very history. Because we too, we are afraid that some type of funny type of people can come in.
He has particularly instructed the registrar of the Cameroon GCE board to take appropriate measures to that effect. Mr. Bebehe has also visited 3 secondary schools and the Government Bilingual Teachers Training College, especially GBH's Hilltop, where the principal's office was set on fire in the heat of the school boycott. In conjunction with the governor, he has assured parents and candidates that all examination centers should be secured, though some principals have expressed worries at the low preparedness of their students.
Well, thanks very much, Annette Efeti Mutumba Esome. Solomon Tembang, I suppose you read the sciences at the high school, and you probably did the practicals. How practical it is? Because exams, well, like we understand, the practical exams will begin on Monday, as per the official calendar. Yes, how practical is that?
Kejang, the practicals are part of the GCE and a fundamental part of the GCE exam. Because if you do only theory without practicals, then you, I would say, for the science subjects, I'm sure you will come out half-baked. And take, for example, biology, advanced level biology. Advanced level biology, when you see the results, there are 2 grades. The first grade is a practical grade, the second grade is a theory grade. And it's the practical grade that is considered when they are calculating your points. And if you fail the practicals, you have failed the GCE advanced level biology, no matter if you have A grades in theory. And looking at the period through all along this year, academic year, you cannot expect somebody to study for 1 month and you want the person to go and write for an exam. So I think the practical exam the students are not prepared for the practical exam.
Solomon Agborem, very quickly, anybody who wishes or who manifests the enthusiasm to sit in for the exams, that is what we gathered, can come and write. Never heard of in the world.
That is number one room for fraud. And I will say it point blank on this platform. Take, for instance, the chief of center, who knows maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parents with children who are interested in exams. They could fill the examination sheets and all of that and bring it over to her. She validates the final number of those who wrote the exams. And how do you attest that this individual was present or not when you say, well, it was a concerned Cameroonian who said that? We were hoping that the minister would say that himself and so we could criticize him on that. But it's unheard of. I can't just get up in my house and I appear in an examination center that I'm interested to write. And then you remove the examination sheet and enroll me. Are you getting me as an internal candidate? There are rules and regulations when we talk about the Cameroon General Certificate of Education, and we should not tamper with it. Allow people to register on the spot and write the exam. This has never existed before. How come we are changing the rules by the minute? It does not work that way. We should identify what is on the ground and have it. For instance, if you want to travel by air, you book an appointment, you get a ticket, and you have your time and all of that. It also helps in the logistical preparation of the examination. Now, how do we manage it? We are creating more problems than we want to provide solutions.
The only issue, Kilian, is to write the examinations. That is what the government wants.
At all costs.
At all costs. Now, your son, who was in the mission final year
high school,
in the high school in a mission college in the southwest region of the country, is at home. Let me ask a simple question: has he withdrawn his acceptance slip? Because that's
to begin with. My son had never registered because when this thing started, I withdrew my son and brought here. By the time I was trying to, because this is protectionist institution is the government. I was waiting for the government to announce. Each time they announced registration and he went back, you know, the school was closed. And I attempted to register him from Douala, and they answered that all the centers were full. And so my son did not register. And I'm not prepared for my son to write. It's not a problem for me. But I think by the time conditions will be good for my son to write, he's going to write. You know, I have looked at it this way. If I hasten my child to go to school and get a paper that is not valuable, I even paid him doing courses here, which is more important. And any studies and education undergone is not lost. If he doesn't write and he has undergone somewhere, it's not going to be a problem because people have still gone to school and been roaming for many years without jobs. I know he can catch up. But what is at stake when I look at that report there is, as you started today on the economic partnership, Mr.
Agreement.
Solomon was riding on rules and norms and quality controls. Cameroon is the first country of breaking rules from the higher level. And the point is, and that's where the fear is always about when we open our doors and we say, have you ever seen what the custom people do at the port? Do you know that those rules can be broken every day, just like you saw the gendarmerie? So this is the question we need to address. Cameroon is a country that has every endowment, even human resources, but intellectual dishonesty and this thing that happens make the country to be poor, very poor and indebted. So you see that this is another pedagogic foul. Because when we started this thing, we said no. People started, there's going to be a blank year. And the blank year is not proclaimed by UNESCO. It's the country itself that is responsible and say no. The quality of the norms for whose charter was enacted and signed with with UNESCO, I cannot accept this to happen. If a government is responsible, we will simply say no. There's a minimum number of hours that you have to undergo, after which you cannot write again if you don't attend that. And we know that the national media has announced several times that the school had reopened, and they come back, they retract on this information every time when we watch, and they don't give reason for what the previous announcement yielded fruit. So today, even when we go, those of us that are from there, we are just, it's a sorry story for us that we see that you can bring your camera at the metropolitan headquarters of Bamenda and you have a few government schools open there. But when you go to my villages and so on, you see that people are practically going to the farms. So you ask yourself now, why is this situation of at all costs GCE must be written. Well, that is the regarding mission of the government, because the government can make the GCE to be written, but the papers, I mean, the diplomas will never be qualified, they will never be recognized out of the boundaries of Cameroon. So it is that
the question
duties to make it right, but qualitatively and pedagogically, is it possible for people to call? And as Agbo has said, how can? It's just like very soon next year during election, they will tell you that people who have never registered in any registration should just come and vote. And then you will find that the number of voters are more than the people who are registered. Some of them are ghost voters are going to take place.
Yes,
it's not possible.
To queue into what Kilian has said, and also what Agborem just pointed out some time ago, for the minister to say unregistered candidate can write, it is outrageous. This will pave the way.
No, let's correct it. It's not the minister. I was going to say that luckily it is. I was going to ask.
But that is the instruction.
I cannot interpret as instruction. Until, let me tell you, it's very dangerous for me. If the minister comes out and says such a fallacious statement, that would be very dangerous.
That's why I mentioned
the
in my intervention.
I was just saying that I hope that initiative is personal and
not from the government.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that will pave the way for people who, maybe a candidate who wrote the exam last year and passed and is intelligent, to go into a classroom and write for his friend or his brother or his cousin.
It's going to happen.
I think the government is doing this just to prove that the government is not weak. The government wants the exam to be written by all costs to show that the government has not failed. But whereas the government has failed, I would have wished that the government postpones the academic year, extends it to December, and then the next academic year begins in January, so that our academic year can be running as a calendar year.
And they plan the catch-up.
They catch up, because initially the minister said they were going to be catch-up periods or classes, and that it could not work. You cannot expect a candidate who is supposed to write an end-of-year exam to study from morning to 10 p.m. And then when will the candidate prepare for the exam?
Even the brain is a machine that
has to rest. The board registrar said that in one of his interventions in the government-run media, said Agbo, that those who are writing the GC examinations are just doing maybe something like a revision, which means the bulk of the job has been done, and so there's no reason why they should not write the exams.
Lies. We should even take the GCE at Form 1 if we are doing revision for all of those what he's saying. Those are justifications that are aching. To talk to parents that you are doing revision, those are justifications that are aching. Now, the situation is different because in the city, you will try to see some effort. But when you go down to the grassroots, it is disturbing. When you go down to the grassroots, it's appalling. So it is something that some certain justification should not be made at all. If you don't have anything to say, just be quiet and watch it. Because we know of the notorious extension of the registration period, the dates, the holiday classes. Have we asked ourselves who was there to follow up appropriately that?
Did they teach?
Yeah. Were the children coming? Were teachers there? If they were there, were they even effective? Now, we just reporting to maybe our international partners that, okay, these are the measures we are doing, but effective monitoring on the ground is not done. I was shocked when the minister came to the Southwest region in Boya and asked in the meeting the problems. And they told him point blank. I was happy with the teachers because they were point blank with the minister that we have an issue of security. And when the regional delegate took the floor for secondary education, the Southwest took the floor and explained keen activities on the ground and said, here we cannot do anything because we need security, and put the question to the governor. The governor took the mic and throw it back to him. We were playing ping pong with the minister. This is cacophony. It was crazy. Because the delegate cannot command the forces of law and order. You, the administration, that's security. It's under your prerogatives, your functions. But he will throw it back to the delegate that, no, look for means and do this. Now, I'm also shocked at the fact that we know that some of the schools were attacked during the night. But this policemen, the dispositions government had taken is that they secure the schools during the day. As the children are closing, they too are carrying their batons and their bags and they go home. And now attack comes in the night. So there's no willingness to even try to put up a strategy, strategy, to do what? To even apprehend the culprits, because they do their activities in the night. We only come in the morning and you observe that the school was tampered with. So where is the effort that we are making to give parents this security that we need? Because candidly, he cannot send his child to school because he's afraid that what happens to my child? and I know that my child is insecure and I ask him to go to school. So parents need to have that confidence. And when we're talking of specialized centers that will host them, are we thinking of accommodation? Are we thinking of those that will come from far to write in those centers? How will they cope? Because you need to revise for the next day.
That's true.
They are not enabling environment for you to revise effectively for the next day to take the next paper. So these are the challenges and worrisome situations that we should look at it concretely.
The government is insisting that the GCE exams will be written. But you will notice that promotion exams in other classes have not been written.
Good.
So the candidate will write the GCE ordinary level, those who will pass, and I'm sure the government will bring down the pass grade to maybe 50 or 100 just to make it credible. And what
they can weaken the question so that
many people will pass. Okay, people will write the ordinary level certificate and move to lower seat, but the students in lower seat have not written the promotion exam to move to upper seat. Are there enough accommodation to host this population in the classes?
Let me bring in technically one problem. When you talk about the Anglophones, there are Anglophones that are found in the regions that were not affected. Going to school that are exactly Anglophone and English speaking. They have gone through the syllabus completely because the problem was not in Little or the rest of the country. How is, when you want to set the GCE, you set on the syllabus that was covered.
I was going to come, yes.
The question I'm asking, is the GCE board going to have a syllabus that was covered for 2 months in the Northwest and Southwest, and then another syllabus for the other? This is the question.
So the teachers should even ask themselves this genuine question: did I cover the syllabus?
Yeah, no, it's not. No, we are not talking about the teacher here. The teacher has no. You know, the teachers are the one who started that their conditions are not good. The teachers want their problem to be solved. Maybe their problem have been solved as I hear, but the question is how to pull the partners in the school, in education, is with parents like me, teachers, owners of school, the government. You know, how can these people, if they have a compromise, this thing will go? And the conflict solving is the capacity of the government to pull all these 4 categories together and strike a deal with which will be responsible. I'm not finished. I simply wanted to say that it appears to me that 2 entities, quality and quantity, I mean, the government wants to, I mean, if that announcement, the announcement that people can be identified as short notice at the centers and they can write, then we are more oriented towards quantity than quality. And this is going to cause a problem. So I'm asking all the question I'm asking, what syllabus for the Anglophone Cameroonians that were on the rest of the country? Because that is always a problem in this country. The problem is that the country has been united and that these schools, Anglophone schools, are found everywhere. And all of us can go to any part of Cameroon, and as an Anglophone, I'm in Douala. And there's nothing for me to send my children in Anglophone schools here, and they write GCE in Douala. And so now the GCE board has the task of setting 2 syllabuses. The syllabus that was covered in Douala, and qualitatively you will be in a country where you are simply saying that it's division. That is quite cessation. It's even cessation in practice, institutional cessation, to think that if a part of the country is affected, we cannot say the whole country is affected. That's going to cause this kind of discussion, and I think that it's high time that they concede and say, okay, fine, we've lost this year or we've lost this part, and try to organize something to catch up and come out with an appeasement for people to be happy.
Solomon Tembang, Boya and Bamenda are the 2 major or chief towns of those 2 regions. They can ride because of the security can be guaranteed. The governor, the Tamasho will come out. But what about Kumba, Manfe, Bamenda, Fontem, Lebialem, Fundong?
Kejang, I'll bet to differ with you a bit, saying that Bamenda and Boya can.
Well, let us just suppose.
I don't think there are enough police and general officers to
cover all the
centers, all the schools, and maybe all the students. There have been cases where the government kept assuring the population to send their children to school because schools have been secured. But incidents kept happening in schools. So to say that Kumba and Bamenda can be secured, I doubt.
Boya and Bamenda.
Boya and Bamenda can be secured, I doubt.
To be candid, let me tell you another qualitative problem. If you send kids that have never seen heavily armed officers stand by the school and then they enter to write, do you think that they will be psychologically prepared to write that?
It is not a military camp.
They will first of all be afraid.
It's a place of learning. It's supposed to be calm and void
of any intimidation. The only security that will happen is when all the partners that are named here, mentioned here, are pulled together, and a deal is stricken, and they can go and ride without any forces of law and order. The forces of law and order could be at a distance. I mean, let me tell you, to keep security is not always to be physically present. It's what you call service de renseignement. The secret service can be at a distance and infiltrate with people and know who are the people, who are the trouble seekers. If a deal is already stricken between the partners and everybody say we want to ride, there will still be fear that some unscrupulous people, like you used to say, can still be there, what they call the radicals and the extremists who want to say, okay, this thing should fail so that I'll be happy and we can recuperate it. Those are the kind of people that you need to use the internet and what you call local population to collaborate and identify so that they can be handled, you know.
Agborem, we are all along talking about the GC, ordinary, advanced, and technical. But then, what about the first school living certificate examinations?
That's even a sector that we've kept out as if it does not exist. But that's another problem, which will be had. For the secondary schools, you can witness.
I think the common exams was supposed to have been written.
It's supposed to have been written.
We don't even understand.
Primary schools are supposed to have gone for the long vacation. So I don't know when they are going to
Kejang, we had information that parents even received text messages from head teachers asking them to send their children to come and ride. Most of the parents had to withhold their children back at home. So it's an important point that we're just looking at the secondary education where we have youth adolescents who some are mature enough to go to school. But at that age, 8, 9, you want to keep them back at home. They don't even have that courage to go up front by themselves. So it's a difficult situation. I was just thinking privately, how would the results sound? Well, when they begin to announce and grade all of those things. So it's a situation that we are not just looking at the secondary sector. The primary sector is also plagued with this issue. And the children have not studied sufficiently. Their mindset has been disarrayed. And examination is not about the preparation. It's a mindset too. The mind is prepared that I'm taking an examination. No matter how you prepare, if the mind is disturbed, you can't. If your father dies the next minute, you will not take that exam appropriately because you are somewhat psychologically disturbed. So,
and I want to chip in a word. Mr. Kejang has actually brought a sector that what I think that will be affected, I must bear with you, will be primary education, what you call basic education. Because the base for the foundation of education is at that level. Let me tell you, frankly speaking, with my son who is in the high school, I think he can catch up very easily and very fast. And when you go down to the primary school again, the worst is kindergarten.
They forget everything.
And class 1. These children who did not study, they have lost a year. They can completely destabilize a child who was going to, who was psychologically prepared to go to school. And you remember when the child is always happy, the first day, the composition I used to write, your first day in school. You imagine, you are doing imaginary things, but I'm telling you, it's always an exciting movement which is psychologically prepared by the parent. Imagine that these children that were in Form 1 and kindergarten went to school 2 months and after they were stopped. It is going to be very difficult for their parents. They are asking a lot of questions. And you know the child at that level, when he has questions unanswered, is a psychological derailment that is going to be implanted in the child. So I think that even what you are saying, my son in the high school, he takes an initiative to organize when he's going to study and when he's going to watch films and so on. Other people are still people who are supposed to be guided and put the foundation for the education that was going to take place.
Bishop Kleda went to the northwest and southwest region and I don't want to say failed, but could not convince the bishops to open schools. And all of us are seeing this stalemate. Tembang, do you think if they had opened the schools, something better would have happened? Writing the GC would have been.
The bishops have always said that they have not
closed their schools.
That their doors are open. When students are ready to come, the students will come. So that's why the Catholic Church holds that they have not closed their schools. And I think the clergy also told government that they simply accompany government in education. It's the government's role to educate.
It's partnership.
Not the church.
Yep.
But the church is simply a partner. And when
that's why the government
schools are functioning, ours will also function. But we have not closed our doors. So whatever Kleda went to Bavenda to tell bishops to open their doors, I don't know what his mission was. His mission was out of place.
No, I want to say that that was another false step that he took. I don't want to think that the bishop was agitated amongst the court cases that were against their bishop, and as the president of the higher institution of the Catholic Church, he took that initiative. I want to believe. I don't know whether he took advice from other senior, because sometimes you are put in that position, but you have some senior clergies at that level that can give you an in-depth of it. The purpose for the bishop, if the bishop wanted to succeed, the Catholic Church is structured and all the schools have what you call Parent Teachers Association. He would have been talking with their major partner who are the parents. They simply would have organized PTA for all the Catholic schools and say, okay, we want you people to come to school. And present something from the government, and this is the agreement we have, so that we give you confidence that we are going to handle this. This is the partnership for security we have signed, and that you open our doors, you send your children. These are the children who leave from the school to the house. Because don't forget that the point is not security at the school. When the security threat is posed, the point is not that the child has gone to school and is secure. You don't know what's going to happen to your child when he leaves from school back home, and when he's even back home. You saw the case of people who marched in Bamenda for the business women. I mean, they were protected to march. By the time they finished and they dispersed, they were going. And the woman was attacked on the route. And even that woman could still be attacked in her house. Immediately you are identified. So the basic security problem does not pose only at a particular spot in this type of a crisis.
Logistics, like you mentioned, Agborem, invigilators, we don't know if they have been summoned yet. This is another, the markers, because of, that the examiners and chief examiners, well, all of them are examining. We don't know if they have been summoned yet, but do you see, because most of them are probably doing their farms, because this is the time to cultivate crops. Do you see them coming from, well, they say they go for administrative reasons, they sit there, but then the students are not still coming?
Well, definitely, we should be clear on Newsroom to state here that the teachers understand concretely what's on the ground. Some of them are also affected by what is going on. So,
they too have teachers as well as their parents.
Of course.
You may invite the invigilators. You know, they usually have their package after the whole stuff. Those who are interested will subscribe, and those who are not will find 1 or 2 reasons to go away. This is happening at this point in time. They will respect because they are on government payroll, and some may be afraid of sanctions pronounced by deals and deals and the governors. But the issue should be that logistics should be made available appropriately. So if we insist that it has to happen, but I'm just conscious that we don't organize something that will create more problems. In the long run, that will take us time to redress than solving it right now.
Well, let us just move over to the Northwest region and try to get the reaction of Mr. Joe Asanji. Well, Joe Asanji was amongst those who held a meeting in the Northwest region to see what they could do. Then the meeting now had to be a party affair. So tried to, as one of the moves, to help these children or push parents to send their children back to school. Well, we'll do that with the technical assistance of Kaventekam. Let's have Joe Asanji. When we come back, we'll move over to the Northwest region to get our correspondent, Angie Collins.
With the ongoing crisis, most people have been staying indoors without knowing what to do, but when the Prime Minister, head of government, who is the Northwest leader of the party, finally convened this meeting, much has been said. I think we are going back really enriched. Nothing that goes up does not come down. There has been a time for people to reivindicate. I think solutions are ongoing, and I think the hearts are calming down, the tensions are coming down. In a few days to come, I think with all what we gathered today, things will come back to normal.
Well, we're sorry, that was Mr. Asanji there talking on the possibilities of helping parents send their children to school. Now, let me come with you. You mentioned something about the partnership, but this partnership will not probably end with the the fact that the parents have to send the children to school, but the fact that the security officers might not be able to accompany the children everywhere.
Yeah, and that is exactly the story. Let me tell you, the only security that you can talk of or propose at this level of the crisis is an agreement between all the parties. Once that agreement is made or obtained, you don't need anything. The only thing that the government should know, and they know better, is that they can use the Secret Service to extract or to identify the troublemakers that will always exist in a situation like this. It's not only in the Northwest. Imagine when they were in 2008, when there was a crisis.
Let me just interrupt you there, Kilian. We have our Northwest Regional Bureau correspondent online. Annie Collins, hello.
Yes, hello, Kejang. Welcome to Bamenda.
Yes, Annie Collins. The GC practical examinations will begin on Monday, as we all understand, and the Minister of Secondary Education was in the Northwest region. Now, let us just find out from you, keeping a beat, how are things moving on there?
Well, to go by some of the meetings that the Minister has held while sojourning here in Bamenda, some small confusion, as people do not know. When I say people, I mean those who spoke on behalf of the children, on behalf of the candidates, that is the principals and other school administrators, because they don't know. They say the children are not physically prepared, psychologically prepared, academically, and so on. So they don't know what exams they are going to be writing. And then they also said that professionally and out of their conscience, deep in their conscience, they have not prepared the children for the exams. So how will the children go in? Is it professionally correct? Is it morally correct? And those are some of the worries they presented to the minister. Well, the minister too also said that these children, some of whom left Bamenda, of Our Lady of Lords, whose minister said the children left since December, and to date have not been in school. So how are they going to do? How prepared are they for these exams? The minister told them that they have left like that. Some of them are studying out of the Northwest region, and so if they come back to write exams, of course they have to open the doors to get in and write the exams. So that is the confusion I'm talking about. So we are waiting to see what Monday will look like. Of course, Monday we may have an affluence since it's just the practical part of it. So the affluence may really not be there, but we're waiting to see how the situation will look like when the theoretical part of the exams will begin. That's going to be in June.
You followed very closely the meetings between the minister and the stakeholders.
I can't get you.
Well, I suppose you followed very closely the meeting with the stakeholders.
Hello?
You followed the meeting with the stakeholders. Annie Collins, what were the security concerns raised?
Yes, the security concerns, of course, have to do with the environment. The centers that are going to write. Of course, you know, there are going to be accommodation centers. Not every school, obviously, will be a center. And children are going to be moved to other centers, let me call it agglomerations, where they are going to have security officers on guard so that they can jointly write, and that is a situation now be manageable security-wise. So children are going to be moved to big or general centers where they will sit for the exams. Especially the mission schools or maybe private schools and so on, going to be moved to areas where they will be secured.
Now, Annie Collins, very quickly, what are parents saying? You know, when they hear that, or what are Cameroonians there in that part of the country saying when they hear that anybody who manifests that enthusiasm to come and write can write?
Without being registered, yeah.
Yes, there is the worry, there is the disturbance in the minds of everyone because given that you don't know who will come in, it is already being propagated on social media that the thing is not up for any other person who would like to have it. Get right that from pushers, any other person can come that they want to sit for the GC, and that probably the GC will be options like that. I don't know. That is a general talk, especially on social media. But there is the worry, there is a disturbance of how much much credibility is going to be lent to the certificates of this year. That is the worry of parents. They have been saying it on local radio, interactive programs, and so on.
Collins?
So
yeah, everybody is talking about the GCE, but then nobody talks about the first school or the common entrance that was supposed to have been written.
Yes, it is said that the common entrance will be written on the 16th of this month, and the first school will come later on. So maybe if the Minister of Basic Education is supposed to come here and see for herself what how far preparations have gone for these the exams concerning how to are going to look like in the northwest and the southwest region. You know, the Central Education Minister has been to these two regions, so probably his colleague of basic education is going to do the same. So we're just waiting to see how next week will look like, given that the exams, the first school living certificate, the common entrance is going to be written very soon.
Thanks very much, Annie Collins. We wish you well.
Thank you very much, Kejang. Over to you.
Well, that was our Northwest Regional Bureau Chief Annie Collins. Kilian, reaction?
Yeah, I think that Annie Collins is just in line with what we have been discussing here. And he has brought in 3 factors, which is psychological. And when you bring the factor psychological, it pertains to the parents and the children who are going to write. The environment is environmental. Why? And then the impact is the environment under which they are going to write. They have not been prepared for long. They are seeing forces of law and order. And sometimes they will want to create some specialized center to carry them to one. So you find out that the professional aspect of it factor, which is very important, cause the individual who are the professional to look at the ethical aspect in terms of quality and the norms. Why are we doing this? Is it the right thing? Not only the teachers, but sometimes the government. The government can put this factor and question itself. Is it professional for us to make the exams to be written? And the answer, and then lastly, the moral aspect. This is personal to an individual. If you call for this and a judgment, which can be go to dogmatism, you find out whether, in fact, in face of somebody that is the Almighty, can you really say that your mind is set for you to operate this kind of a thing? So you find out that, as we said, as I was called before going, if security is going to be provided, only way they are going to write. They should understand that this crisis calls for security to be provided at all levels for people who are acting against some other people who want the crisis to prolong to a certain level, that we don't need to have it. You know, the crises are there, they were genuine, the problem had to be addressed, and they became political crises because this an Anglophone is an entity that has a culture that should be addressed. They have created the National Commission on Culture and this, and we all know that that commission does not have the power to actually address directly the problem. Now, so the head of state knows what he can do to address this problem. Even a word of confidence, even to give his word that this is what I'm going to do and come out and talk with the partners. These 4 people are not sending mercenaries, because now we now call civil servants who go there like mercenaries. These intermediaries who actually do not represent the real situation on the ground.
Okay, yes, but Kilian just talked about the mercenaries or the intermediaries who have lost confidence, or the people have lost confidence in them. Now, maybe the head of state should come out and speak. Kilian says he's still confident, but it's like he doesn't want to talk.
You know, our head of state is somebody who asks, I would say, takes his time to...
Why do you say that?
To do things. And whereas that is not supposed to be the case. They
say that you can...
critical times need critical action.
Yep.
This is a critical time. He needs to take critical and immediate action.
Yeah.
To address the issue himself, because the head of state has been sending his collaborators to go to the field, and we have proven that they are proven not to be competent enough to resolve the problem. I think the onus is now on the head of state to resolve this problem himself, address the issue, by issuing a presidential decree extending the academic year to the end of the year. It's a
presidential act.
Subsequently, our academic year can begin at in January, just like the calendar year, and as a financial year. I don't see any reason why the government is so much in a haste to organize the GCE. It should extend and give more time for the students to prepare and give credibility to the exam.
Even July and August, you can still do something.
Yes, Aji Collins made a few points about the common entrance examinations will be coming up too, at the first school even coming up.
That's right.
And we expect another marathon visit by the Minister of Basic Education. Do you think that will help out the situation?
She cannot stay in Yaoundé. She will be in Bamenda or in Boya, be it the northwest or the southwest. That picture that President Antoine Travailler, and I don't think what Cameroonians want now is that phenomenon of Je suis en train de travailler. People want concrete action. Now, how do you evaluate or analyze the fact that the same day the head of state was receiving the female lionesses, it was the same day that there was chaos in the Northwest region. And in the course of that ceremony, I'm sure our security service are the best in the CEMAC zone. I'm sure he had hints. But what prevented our president to have addressed that issue that same evening? Remember, we just coming from Kribi, and one of the experts told us, in Senegal, lights went out for an hour, and the president addressed the nation and apologized. We need to start copying some of the good practices and change our system. This is a beautiful country, and we have basically everything that God has endowed us with, but he is going to hold us accountable for the mismanagement of what we have. So what we're saying is the minister will be there, but it's unfortunate she cannot take the exams. But I'm afraid if the children will be there to respect that this is an exam that we have been preparing for. Like we have shared on this platform, that the situation is even very precarious when we talk about the basic education sector. But we are hoping that before now, and that hopefully Tuesday that our reporter highlighted, certain things must have been done to bring peace and to secure maybe where the children will be writing, so that they can engage the examination.
Well, Kilian, I will probably end up with you here on this issue. I just read in some of the papers that the situation is not the best, because after they have spent too much time at home, many teens are becoming now pregnant mothers. We have pregnant teens, pregnant babies, which is a very catastrophic image for this nation.
Of course, you imagine that, and that has always been one of the aspects of youth engagement and so on. You even know that there were programs during the long-term holidays where they used to make sure they involve these youth, not to allow them to go astray to these practices, to these juvenile delinquencies. And you now imagine how it would have been propagated during this period, whereby the whole school year they were not going. And I make my effort as a parent. I see it on my children. My children, you get them in areas at home. They were in dormitory, but at home they are interacting now with some funny guys in the quarters and so on. So you understand, and then you see that behavior change. And see the way they answer to you, it changed. So, in fact, that is one of the phenomenon that is going to happen, and it's really regrettable, because, and that's the psychological aspect. By the time they will be calling some to write, you will see some of our girls, teenage children, they're already pregnant. They will not be able to write, or some of them have gone to theft and so on, and malpractices in the quarters, watching films. And think they are, in fact, they are derailed from the syllabuses, and they have derailed from the program that were handed to them at the beginning of the school year back in September. And if we were in an advanced country, advanced civilization, I want to get it like this, because I don't understand how people who went to school to a certain level can come so low not to enhance some civilizational aspect of doing things. Sometimes you might lack some expertise of conflict solving, but if you question your mind on the moral aspect and professional aspect a little bit, you can bring things on the table. So it's going to be very difficult for for our children to actually sit for this exam. Be it that the security has been provided, and I still insist that it should be a distant security and not a proximity security. If you find heavily armed people and those who had psychological energy, those who had prepared their children psychological energy to come and ride, but the child, I remember when my child used to see a policeman, he would ask me many questions with a gun. But now that you are going to go and ride in school whereby there are many guns and makes specialized forces of law and order, it's going to be very difficult.
Thanks very much, gentlemen. Well, we have in the breath. When we come back, we'll have time to go over our second talking point. Let's have a break. Well, the Social Democratic Front, the SDF, the CPP, and the MRC of Ni John Frundi, Kawala Edith, and Professor Maurice Kanto have said that they were going to boycott the May 20th celebrations. This because they say the country is not at peace with itself. Solomon Tembang. Well, we followed that. The big news is that, well, the Social Democratic Front said they were not going to march or celebrate May 20th, that is Unity Day. But there's confusion somewhere along the line. People are saying that, well, the SDF called for a boycott of the 20th celebration.
No, I think the SDF said the party is not going to celebrate the National Day. But the SDF is not calling for a boycott. That's why the first national vice president of the Social Democratic Front, Joshua Osi, clarified that the SDF is boycotting the SDF militants who are not going to march. But the SDF is not calling on people not to celebrate. If you are not an SDF militant, you are free to celebrate. But truly, the SDF may be right not to celebrate. Because Kilian Nyuysever, in one of his books, I think Other Things Fall Apart or Arrow of God, said a man cannot go to bed when the roof of his house is on fire.
It's on fire.
So you may ask, why are we going to be celebrating when the roof of our house is on fire? So the SDF and the CPP and the MRC may be right in not celebrating.
Well, the CPP joined the coup, and now MRC has joined the Social Democratic Front, calling the shots. That might be a lesson to the head of state, or to the government. Solomon.
Well, Kejang, I want to come from the human rights perspective, since I'm also a member of the UN Pool for Human Rights and Democracy for Central Africa. And when we look at the Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, adopted in 1949, it talks of everyone has the right to freedom of opinion. Of course, the issue of freedom of opinion and expression, and the right includes freedom to hold opinions without interference, and to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas to any other, to any media, regardless of frontiers. This is an opinion which is held by the Social Democratic Front, and it falls within international conventions, which we have ratified. So I am a little bit taken aback when people want to crucify the Social Democratic Front for saying that they will not pass. It is their opinion. And you as a Cameroonian, you as an individual, you have the laxity to either buy it, to either accept it, to either receive it, or be imparted by it. But what is clear is that in perusing the quantifiable seriousness of the situation, each country on planet Earth has got a national day. And this is a day of patriotism. This is a day of loyalty to your state. Because before you become whatever, is it French speaking or English speaking, on your identity card, it specifies that your nationality is a Cameroonian. And when I look at other countries, when they celebrate their national day, it's even a week-long activities to mark that day. So there's still need for us to give importance to what we celebrate. But if you ask me of the opinion of the Social Democratic Front and the other political parties, it is their opinion and it is their right as an entity to express themselves and valorize their opinion. But candidly, we have a national day that calls for it to be commemorated or celebrated, and Kejang's opinion cannot affect mine. Tembang's opinion cannot affect mine. Kilian's opinion cannot affect mine. As a Cameroonian, I celebrate the National Day because it is my country and I love my country, and I am loyal to Cameroon as a state.
The National Day celebration is a time where top political leaders are invited to share a drink or wine with the head of state at the Unity Palace. But this time, boycotting the celebrations will mean for Ni John Fundi not to go to the Unity Palace this time around, Kilian, or for Edith Kawala and Professor Kamto Maurice.
I think in democracy and political pluralism, it's very important for this kind of positions to be taken by political party in view of a national crisis, which is, because Anglophone crisis is a nation's crisis. Some political agitators have attempted to present the Anglophone crisis as a sectorial crisis. The crisis that has to do with Anglophone. And as more as they do that, and I don't know why they keep on sanctioning some media to close, and they need to sanction these people from coming to divide Cameroonians, because when you come and present an Anglophone problem like some problem from the Northwest and Southwest, and you don't think that that problem affects all of us as a nation, it's a mistake. And most of the time, even the party in power has always sometimes point at the opposition party for not taking a position, sometimes for good causes, for not taking a position on grand realization, on things that are well done, which is normal. It's supposed to be done like that. In political pluralism, when something is done good, especially when it's done with a concerted and common interest, I mean, people should come out not criticizing every time. But this attitude of the three parties is very symbolic. It's symbolic. You are talking about the National Day. It's not only an ordinary National Day. Our National Day connotates our unity. Is the 20th May connotates 1972 unity. Unity of what? I mean, in every country that they don't have Anglophone and Francophone, they still talk about unity. Because you can still have dissonant voices from a same country that does not have the two cultures like Anglophone. You can have people like in Sudan who have political opinion, the one they are part, or in Nigeria where the Delta State one, or their oil, or Southwest who want the Sonara, all the oil, and they can have that when they are not simply Anglophone. So it's very symbolic for this political party to take this position at this time that we are celebrating a National Day, because the connotation is that there were two entities that came, and at one point we had to be united. And this is very important. But the question that I ask here, is the attitude going to be heard? We have heard in the past, walk out from parliament, boycotts. Have the government, the other side of the story, have they ever taken this into consideration? Secondly, I hope that some of the still big wings in the party, because sometimes, of course, it's political vitality when there are differences in opinion and internally, but sometimes, again, the outrage is that political hierarchy sometimes sanctions people who have different. If you have to have political pluralism and accept the fact that there's freedom of expression, even within the party, Article 8.2 and what dismissal discipline, sometimes people express their opinion and their sanctions. Is this time around, I hope that this attitude is not going to spread on this kind of activities and situations that we got, which are not good in democracy, sometimes when we go to sanction and so on. And then, yeah, I said it, they have been walked out of the SDF from the parliament and bills were still passed. This time around, is the head of state going to hear? But in opinion, international opinion, politics is not also about internal. There are the international communities watching us up. And because political parties in Cameroon are not supported by an institutional framework, a constitution, that create political party in 1990 law, just like association, like you have village association and so on. If political parties were institutionalized by the constitution and acting like in Britain, where you know the shallow cabinet of SDF that has been formed, have you ever seen their action being taken into consideration? Sometimes when they take into consideration, there is political plagiarism. The ruling party can take it and pretend and say that they heard the voices of the people.
As has been doing. Well, the 20th May celebrations without these parties. But then we thought other parties like the UDC, the UPC, and more would have probably joined in their voices to that of the Social Democratic Front, to that of the CPP and the MRC, to say, well, things are not moving well in this country. That would have sent a very strong message to the government.
So you understand that these other political parties belong to what they refer to as a presidential majority, and you will not expect them to go against their partner, because the UNCP I think they have a partnership. That's
some fractions of the UPC.
That's why I even gave them the opportunity to have for some of their members to be appointed ministers and senator. For example, the UNGP has a senator, Fambongayap, and we not expect them to go against the partners in government. So the UNGP, and then as you said, this is not the first time anyway. This is not the first time the SDF is boycotting the 20 They have been doing boycotting all along. And as Kilian said, will this boycott have any impact on the current situation in the country? The SDF is noted for boycott. And if you notice now, boycott, the policy of boycott has never succeeded anywhere.
But boycotting Solomon Tembang will be telling the government and the people of Cameroon that we are not happy, and that is something important for them.
Yes, the action to boycott, that will draw government's attention to the fact that the SDF is not happy with the way the government has handled this situation. But will the government listen to that?
But
the government, which is known for acting very slowly, the government is known to be very adamant to change.
Yeah.
Will the government act on this?
Let me say something, and I think as we were talking about globalization, everything that happens in Cameroon sometimes is not only for Cameroonians. It's going to happen. You know, the head of state does not play with diplomacy, and something might not have an internal political impact because we know the way our political system runs. But it will have an international impact, and the effect that it can bring in some impact. We've seen that sometimes the head of state, there was some action the head of state took to reinstate reconnection of internet was interpreted as the intervention of the special representative of the United Nations. All those kind of things, it can still have an impact. But the question is, SDF, these parties should be very careful. You know, this is a national day. The other side of the story and the other opinion of Cameroonians could be interpreted as being unpatriotic. Why is it that another strategy was to participate with messages?
Kilian,
wait, let me finish.
What do you mean by being unpatriotic?
No.
Does it mean telling the people the truth?
No.
It's against,
let me tell you, I'm simply saying that they will be exposed to those kind of attacks from other people. That's their opinion again. There are some people who think that, look, this is a national day, you cannot say I will boycott. It is good to be present and express yourself that you are not happy. Because another way was to match with messages of contesting the action. Which
would not be accepted.
That would not be accepted.
That's the point. Solomon,
I want to come in quickly.
Solomon,
yes.
Very quickly.
Yes, Kejang.
May 20th celebrations the celebrations are coming up, but we don't find a frenzy. Probably it might not hold well in West Cameroon. Are you foreseeing that? Just like first May or Labor Day, just like the Women's Day, and then we were told that some 40 people were ferried somewhere to go and march, and prisoners were released from Boya Central Prison to go and march. At the end of the day, they went to the thin air.
Well, definitely. All I understand is we have Northwest, we have Southwest regions of Cameroon, and these are the sections where activities are not unfolded smoothly for some months now. The issue of whether it will come clean or not, preparations are ongoing as they are taking place in other regions of Cameroon. So the absence of some political parties, you know, it also comes with mobilization. And internally, they too could see that because we don't have that means to mobilize, and we may fail if we do that mobilization, we can easily go that we will not participate and we will do this. There are different things to the sujet. So I'm beginning to think differently and critically with the issue at hand. But I think that those in the Northwest and Southwest, come what may, you have those who are still patriotic or those who think that it's our national day. And I cannot be deprived from celebrating my national day. They will participate.
Yeah, you are talking about boycott. Now let me end with you, Kilian. Yeah. You say boycott, it might not mean anything. Have you ever boycotted?
Internal
yes, good. Have you ever boycotted? Have you ever known the effect when you boycott your wife's food?
Well, let me tell you, you are talking. There's always a very great impact at that level.
Yes,
that's the micro level of the issue.
No, it is not a micro issue.
It starts from there.
When you boycott your wife's food, you know what it means.
Let me clarify the air. Clear the air is that this boycott is certainly going to have an impact internally. It's going to have an impact.
Good.
It's going to create opinion. and sometimes diverse opinion. Maybe majority for those who are boycotted. For those who sympathize with the Anglophone problems, that is going to happen. But I'm still saying that there's going to be an opinion. You know, everything is about how continuity is going to be after this. So there's going to be a contrary opinion, but that does not say the fact that it's going to be. Even the head of state, he's going to, as he said, our head of state is a slow somebody. Yes. When something gets an impact to him, it takes time to act.
And when the thing goes bad,
in 2013, the head of state is still preparing to sanction his government because he told us that the government was initiated and the government has failed. And we are waiting for
some people died before they could be sanctioned.
So fine, you understand that there is always God's time is the best, as he said.
Well, thanks, gentlemen. Thanks, Solomon Tembang, for having been part of the program.
Thank you very much.
And to you, another wise Solomon.
It's been a pleasure to be on the panel on Newsroom.
Kilian is always there, our permanent consultant.
Thank you this time, even though last time I was not there, when they were talking about a very important international election, French
which you very much at heart.
There's handover tomorrow. After that, we'll have time to comment.
We will comment
the vibrant president, the new president.
Thanks very much, gentlemen, for having been part of the program. Thanks, televiewers. This program was coordinated by Ntarike Divine Ramsey Jr., of course, produced by Kaven Tekam, with the assistance of Emmanuel Bivirika and Roland Lebja. From all of us, it's goodbye for me. But then don't forget that this program comes up tomorrow, a rebroadcast comes up tomorrow at midday.